Hello there and welcome to another episode of Laptop Retrospective, and today I thought I'd do a real quick video since I have these two different machines in front of me. Kind of a versus battle between the T430 and the X220. Now these machines generationally are a bit different, but there are some pros and cons that I wanted to go over with. A couple of things that we need to understand is that this guy is using the original, most coveted ThinkPad keyboard, whereas the T430 is a slightly newer generation that's using the island style keys, which many people do not prefer over this one. I really think they're both great keyboards, and both of these machines have the spill-resistant keyboard where it'll actually drain the fluid out through drainage holes located in the bottom of the chassis. So that to me is pretty cool. Now, here are some differences for you to consider as well. Both of these are available in a variety of CPU configurations. These are both Core i5s. The only difference, of course, is that this one is socketed, so you can do a fair bit of upgrading here if you so choose. This one is soldered on. The i5 in this particular generation only came with USB 2.0 on the board. This one is USB 3.0. It's got two slots for that right off on the side. A couple of other similarities and differences. Both of them still have your ThinkLight. Both of them still have a web camera. Both of them are still using TN panels. That being said, you could get the X220 with a nicer panel, and LCD replacements are very easily found for this one. They also are for the T430. However, there is slightly less choice when it comes to vendors and suppliers for the T430 panels from my experience. The touchpad does not click. You have dedicated buttons on the T430, whereas on the X220, the touchpad does indeed click. Another issue that we should also discuss is the form factor. Obviously, this is a 14, I'm just going to pop that off. It's docked for now. Is a 14-inch machine with your speakers on the side. Don't let the grills fool you. They're not actually that big. They're about half the size. And then, of course, you have your X220, which can fit inside a fair bit with almost an entire ThinkPad logo to spare here at the bottom. So depending on what form factor you like best is going to perhaps dictate which machine that you would like. Now you might start to think, well, hold on a second, isn't this comparison a bit of an oddball because these are not the same generation? We're looking at third generation, second generation, island keyboard, classic keyboard. You know, wouldn't it be better to have an X230? And honestly, yes, but these are the machines I have here in front of me, and these are also the ones that people really like to chase down. They really like to chase down the T430 because you can mod the hardware fairly easily. The one thing that will get in your way, of course, is that BIOS. You do need to hard reset that BIOS with another piece of hardware. You can't do it just software. They lock that feature out, but that's what makes the X220 so attractive, is that you can update the BIOS via software. You don't need to do any hardware gibberish. So depending on how much of a tinkerer you are, this machine might be slightly more attractive. Both of them have that PCIe mSATA drive inside. This one you have to take the keyboard off to access the drive bay as well as the palm rest. However, this one is just on the memory cover on the bottom. If you are looking to explore what ThinkPads have to offer, especially these older ones, the T430 and the X220 are really excellent entry-level computers for those of you that like to tweak and like to see performance increments even when you spend the smallest amount of money. I would lean toward the X220 only because it is a great machine to learn on. So when you start to do some of the more hardware intensive operations on the T430, you know your way inside and out really of both machines. They both take apart very similarly. They both have similarly serviceable components. And if you know, and if you're comfortable with one, you could certainly work and modify the other. But if you do any reading, you'll see that a lot of people like the T430s, they like the X220s. The X230 does get a little bit more love these days, but the 220 I think still remains to be a classic for many. And then of course the T430 is, well, the machine was still serviceable, but just old enough that it had some excellent features in there as well. If you enjoyed this sort of comparison, or if you have any questions that I might be able to answer, I'd highly encourage you to do two things. First off, please subscribe. That helps kind of keep this channel going. Same with the like button. But more importantly, I would encourage you to ask your questions down there, because not only am I going to be able to help you answer them, we have a very strong community that is going to make sure that you can get the answers that you need. And I would certainly open up those questions not only to be answered by me, but any ThinkPad enthusiasts that have no doubt found this channel and are replying beneath those items that I forgot, or perhaps that one statistic I got wrong. I'm sorry in advance, and I bow to your infinite wisdom. Alrighty, I will see you next time.